What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another Tottenham update. And it's been up in the air about Antonio Conte. Obviously, we know he had surgery and he's been in Italy recovering. But what we do know is that Antonio Conte has flown back to England today, according to Sky Sports and according to one of our sources as well. They told us a few days ago that he will be flying back on Wednesday. And Ali Goldstadt says that it is likely that Antonio Conte will be back in charge for the Leicester game. Is that good news or bad news? Because Stellini's doing all right.
It's always good news having Conte back on the touchline. I'm sure the fullbacks probably won't be too happy, him barking orders at them all the time. But I'm sure after all he's been through and how the team fought for him and how proud he made them, how proud the team made him on Sunday, I'm sure it's going to be a welcome return having Antonio back on the touchline on the weekend. And he was probably kicking every ball at home in Italy. He probably can't wait to get back on the touch. And you know how he's like, he likes to control everything, and it must have been very, very difficult for Antonio watching the game at home and not being able to have an effect. But I'm sure he's itching to get back on and take charge of the team again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a most welcome return for Antonio Conte, and I cannot wait to see him back on the touchline. But let's move on. Let's talk about some summer targets now. As Ali Gold has been talking, he says Tottenham definitely like Mark Guehi and Maddison. I'd expect there to be plenty of competition for Guehi's signature if Crystal Palace do decide to sell. And Sammy Mockbell says that Tottenham's recruitment staff has already begun planning for the summer transfer window, and a dominant centre-back is at the top of the target list for the summer. I mean, we did hear very similar things in the lead up to last summer as well, to be fair.
Yeah, we had left centre-back was top of the list. We ended up getting Clement Longley on loan, so we didn't really end up addressing it. But hopefully lessons have been learned, and we are desperate for a new centre-back. I just really think if you got two centre-backs who are aggressive and dominant into this side, it would really revolutionise how we play and how we defend. Right now, it's kind of like we're trying to play our system, but it's like we're trying to make compromises for our defenders all the time, and it's caused us a lot of problems.
The history of the Tottenham.
Exactly. It's caused us a lot of problems this season. I think Conte has said that himself. You know, he's had to change the way we press to react to the characteristics of our defenders, and I think physically we need a new profile, and I can't wait to get some new blood in that area, because you know, apart from Romero, we haven't had a proper big signing in that area for a long time. And considering we play with three of them now, we're in desperate need. And look, Darren Davis, this is not to say like that they don't have a role to play, but their role shouldn't be in the 11.
Yeah, there is a role to play, and that is backup for the first team. That's the role that they should be playing. And in terms of the names mentioned, Mark Guehi, is he one that will come in and be a dominant force to be starting week in, week out, and we'll be happy with?
I like him. He's young. He's got a lot of potential. He's obviously got England caps now. He's playing week in, week out for Palace. So he's one I really like. The only question mark is, it's not really a question mark, but it's just he's used to playing in the back four for Palace. He would have to adjust to the system. And in terms of him being a progressive passer out the back, I don't know. I know he's got composure. I know that, and he's like decent. But in terms of like quality, how good his passing actually is and stuff like that, I can't really speak to that. All I know is when I've seen him play, he's been really aggressive, really good aerially, very dominant, really hard to beat, and he's a centre back I've really enjoyed watching. And I'm sure if we get him in, like it's with the line to improving him as well. I just have a few caveats. Whether does he play left centre back, centre back, and is his passing going to be on the level that we need it to be? I don't know.
I don't think a player, maybe his partner in Joachim Andersen, would fit us a bit better playing in that centre of the centre back role. I mean, I think Joachim Andersen's passing ability is brilliant. He's so dominant in the air as well. Would you prefer him over Guehi?
No, because I actually think Anderson's very similar to Dyer in that sense. I actually don't. I think Anderson physically is very similar profile to Eric Dyer. I guess you could argue makes less mistakes. I do think on the turn he can be easily beaten. In terms of aerially, I don't see him as being that dominant, Joachim Andersen. I think he's decent, but I don't think he's that dominant like like a Kim Min-jae or something like that. He would be more suited to the centre though than Guehi for sure. Guehi would be on the left, I think.
I really rate Joachim Andersen. I really do, and I think I'd be so happy if we would to bring him in. And I think he is a similar profile to Dyer, but I think we need a similar profile to Dyer, just better. And I think that's what Joachim Andersen is. I think he's just a better version of Dyer, pretty much.
Potentially. Having him play in this system week in, week out would give you a better indication.
Yeah,
but
of course.
He does do well for Palace, and I do like his passing range, but I do think Dyer has that passing range in him as well.
Fair enough. But let's move on. Let's talk about some other targets. Next up is Marcelo Brozovic of Inter Milan, and a publication called Sports Witness says if Antonio Conte stays on at Tottenham beyond the summer, then the club would be interested in signing Inter Milan midfielder Marcelo Brozovic. And what a player he is.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of him, and he's exactly the kind of midfielder that we need, to be honest, in central midfield. He's one I've been calling for, a real creative passer. Someone who's really technically gifted in the central midfield, who can keep the ball under tight situations and help know where to pass the ball, what the right options are all the time, and he gives us an option we don't currently have in the team right now, which is someone who has a really good passing range and technically is very, very good. And I think he would fit really, really well with Bentancur as well. Only thing is, during his time at Inter, he's really thrived in a 3-4-3, in a 3-5-2 formation in the 3, especially when you look at as well his performances for Croatia, always in a midfield 3. If you were to put him in a midfield 2, I don't think you get the same Brozovic. And I think it's just something as well that Jorginho has suffered from. When you put him in a system that suits him, he's effective. But if you put him in a pivot, then he starts to struggle. I think Brozovic would be the same, so he would be quite a specialist kind of player, but I definitely think he's the kind of player we need. The only thing is as well, he's wrong side of 30 now. He's not really a signing that you're looking to get looking for the future for, but I think as a short-term option he'd be very effective. I would try if possible to go for someone a bit younger, to a bit of longevity, for example like a Ruben Neves or something, but if that's not possible, then Brozovic would be someone who can do the job.
Yeah, and it's also interesting if we do sign him, it does give us that option maybe to go 3-5-2 with a bit more creativity in the midfield, and it will give us flexibility of options, wouldn't it?
Definitely, 100%.
Moving on to Pau Torres, a name that's been mentioned quite a lot since Antonio, even before Antonio, to be fair. And Fichajes Football say that Tottenham will move for Pau Torres in the summer. Villarreal are likely to have to sell the defender, who is out of contract at the end of next season. So Pau Torres for the left-sided centre-back role, I mean, wouldn't be the worst option, would it?
Yeah, he's one we've looked at a lot, haven't we? For one reason or another, we just haven't been fully convinced, clearly. Otherwise, we would have made our move
No
stronger.
one seemed to have been. I mean, he's been linked to all sorts. Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal even over time, and he hasn't gone anywhere.
I think there are just big reservations whether would he make the step up to the Premier League physically, as well as he's done for Spain. And then as well, at the World Cup, he kind of was in the starting 11, was he, for Spain? He kind of lost his place there. So I don't know how he's been performing for Villarreal this season, but from what I'm hearing, he's kind of been inconsistent. So maybe things have gone a bit cold for him. To be honest, I think I was really excited about the potential of him a couple of years ago, but he does seem to have gone off the boil a bit. Maybe it's because he's needed a move and hasn't got it. I'm not really sure the reason. I would prefer... Obviously, there are other options I'd prefer, like, Gvardiol or pipe dreams like him, or like Bastoni. But I do think, if our top targets aren't attainable, he would be a decent fullback option. But then again, he could be potentially expensive for a fullback option.
Yeah, I mean, with 1 year left in his contract in the summer, how expensive can he be,
true.
to be fair? I mean, it could be a good opportunity, and you know how Daniel Levy likes those opportunities. So I think this could be a likely one, to be fair, with Pau Torres. And look, like you, I haven't seen much of him this season, but when we were last talking about him, I remember that run that Villarreal had to the, was it Champions League final or semi-finals, wherever they went. And I remember the game against Liverpool, but many games in that run, I thought Pau Torres was so physically dominant and played so well in those games. If we can get him to that level on a consistent basis, I mean, we've got a top defender there.
Yeah, I think as a player who could definitely fit the profile for left centre-back. Again, the only problem is pace-wise, in wide areas, would he be able to come out and support the wing-back? I guess there are question marks there, but I do think profile, like his passing ability and things like that, he could be good. But I'm just worried about basically getting another long lay in a way. Like someone who's good, but is he really good enough?
Yeah, I get that. I get that totally. Next up, let's talk about a new name in the list, and that is Naby Keita of Liverpool, as 90 Min are reporting that Tottenham are considering an offer for offering a contract to Naby Keita. The midfielder's contract at Liverpool expires in the summer. I mean, he hasn't really pulled up too many trees since joining Liverpool about, 4 or 5 years ago now?
2018, 5 years ago, yeah.
So, I mean, would you want him at Spurs? Because I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, he, for some reason, he should really be perfect for how Liverpool play, but he just hasn't been able to make it work on a consistent basis. He has had some good performances on occasion, but he's just he runs too much around, a bit like a headless chicken, and kind of there's not much defensive or kind of discipline in his game. He kind of sometimes he's a bit unpredictable. You don't really know what he's going to do next with Naby Keita, and there's, I think, a bit of a technical deficiency there as well. Technically, he's not the best. He's not the strongest. Obviously, physically, he has great attributes. But when it comes to his passing, his shooting, those kind of things haven't really been taken advantage of since he's been in Liverpool. So, I mean, for me, we have people like Basuma who still were waiting to get into the team and stuff like that. I don't see, and also the kind of midfielder I think Spurs should be signing isn't a Naby Keita type, in my opinion. You know, we have Højbjerg, we have Bentancur, we have Skip, we have Sarr. We have players who can do that kind of defensive actions. Dan Basuma, as I said. So I think we need a different kind of profile midfielder, so I wouldn't be going for Keita.
Yeah, totally agree, to be fair. And look, I think we said it before. I mean, the profile of midfield that we need to be going for are the types of the Marcelo Brozovic type of player, the Ruben Neves, like you say, type of player. Those kind of profiles of player I think that we need to be bringing in, because the midfielders that we've got, they're all too similar in terms of profile. So we need to get some sort of passer or creator in the middle there. But let's move on and let's talk about some bad news now with Hugo Loris. As Matt Law broke this morning that Hugo Loris is set to miss 6 to 8 weeks with ligament damage in his knee after a challenge late in the win against City, which is, it's not great news, to be fair. So Fraser Forster will be our first choice keeper up until early April time. Miss FA Cup games, miss Champions League games, and a lot of league football. And the Mirror are claiming that Tottenham could turn to Ben Foster as an emergency goalkeeping cover after Hugo Loris was ruled out for up to 8 weeks. Ben Foster, a Spurs fan as well?
You never know. I tell you what, the amount of behind-the-scenes stuff he could get, I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. It could be quite interesting.
They'll ban him from doing all of that.
Yeah, for sure. 100% Levy will have a tight fist around that.
You know what they'll do? They'll probably get him to do it for the Spurs official YouTube channel. That's what they'll do.
You're probably right. You're probably right about that. When it comes to Loris, I'm obviously disappointed. He's going to be out for such a long time. He is our captain. I know he's been going for a rough time this season, but as well, our defence was just starting to turn it around. 5 clean sheets in the last 7. He did a really good clean sheet against Man City, and now this injury has come along. So not great timing from his point of view. Maybe as well, I don't know if you saw at the end of the Man City game, he had a goal kick and it was a really dodgy goal kick. I don't know if you've seen this clip going around, and he nearly basically gave away a goal in the last kick of the game.
Really?
Man City not gave away a goal, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but he had a goal kick or a free kick inside his own half, and it was it didn't even reach the halfway line. It was a terrible kick, and it put us under a bit of pressure near the end. And maybe this injury kind of explains why that kick was so bad, although his kicking isn't great in general, but it was a particularly bad one. So maybe this goes to explain why that happened. But look, when it comes to Forster coming in, obviously it's good that he's experienced. He was number 1 for Southampton the whole of last season and did a fairly decent job. I think there are pros and cons to it. The cons are obviously Loris is a better shot stopper in my opinion. I think that he's positionally a better keeper. I think that he's our captain, so he has that leadership skill, the leadership qualities he brings to the team. However, the pros, I guess, hopefully, Forster won't be making the same mistakes that Loris was making during the season. Loris was making some pretty unforgivable errors during the season, to be honest. And I think Forster's a bit better when it comes to claiming crosses and things like that coming out of his penalty area. I think they're both, to be honest, just as bad with their feet. They're not great with the ball at their feet. So I wouldn't, if anyone's thinking, Loris is out, we're going to get a better playing out the back, I think again, because I think Forster's pretty bad at that as well. And if it comes to being a rush goalkeeper, coming out your area, things like that, I think Loris is a bit better at that as well. So I think on the whole it's probably a negative, but hopefully if the Forster can avoid those mistakes, it can be a net positive.
I think it's a resounding negative, to be honest. I really do. I know Hugo Loris has had his issues this season and very recently so as well. But I've said it many a time before, he's just a better goalkeeper than Fraser Forster. It's just the facts of the matter. That's the reason why Hugo Loris is our first choice keeper and Fraser Forster is our second choice keeper. And I think, yeah, there might be a few attributes where Forster is better at than Loris, like commanding his box and stuff like that. But in every other aspect of the game, in goalkeeping, I think Hugo Loris trumps him at. So if it was 1 or 2 weeks, I could probably accept it a bit more and it wouldn't be such a bad news. But 6 to 8 weeks is a long time. It's a real long time. And if Fraser Forster is kind of making these mistakes, we've got no one else to turn to, literally.
Yeah, it's worrying.
So it is worrying, in my opinion, that Loris is out for so long. Big chunk of the season, like, when's he going to get back to full fitness? Like second week of April, something like that. So you're talking about, by the time he comes back, who knows where we'll be in this season. But it's bad news in my opinion. And I know a lot of people are calling for Hugo Loris to come out of the team for Fraser Forster, but now everyone's crying why Loris is out and Fraser Forster has to play. I mean, it boggles my mind.
Not everyone is,
but kind of stuff, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is the Hugo Loris situation. Let's talk about Harry Kane now, because Gary Jacob of the Times says that Tottenham will not sell Harry Kane to an English rival this summer. And I also saw a report, I'm not sure if it was from Gary Jacob or someone else, but they said Spurs are going to command a fee of 100 million this summer.
Wow, I don't see them getting 100 million. Well, to be honest, looking at the market right now, the players some clubs are paying 100 million for is ridiculous. But the fact that Kane's going to be 30 or 31 in the summer, I think 30 in the summer,
30, yeah.
I don't see anyone paying 100 million. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right not to pay to a rival. I think that if we're going to hold our position as a team challenging near the top, you can't be giving your best player to any rival and expect that you can continue to challenge. I think those days are long gone, hopefully, for us. So I think that's absolutely right. I think you should risk letting him go on a free than sending him to a rival, in my opinion. But I don't know if that will ever be the indication if Kane is so committed to not signing. Obviously, it's still up in the air. With him breaking the record, you can think of it two ways. Is he now happy that does he feel like his job is done now at Tottenham? Now he's completed that record, or is he going to feel even that more affiliated to Tottenham and the fans and the love? And is he going to make him even hungrier to win trophies at Spurs? I mean, it could go either way, and I think a lot of it is determining on how we end the season and how things go with content and things like that. So it's still very much in the air. Even if you heard him in some interviews after the game, he was asked, are you going to commit your future? I think it was one of the Norwegian journalists, and he was like, well, we'll assess it, we'll see. Didn't want to give any commitment either way. So I hope that he signs on, but look, it's still up in the air. It just depends. It's a waiting game, see how we do.
Very much so. And like you say, I think it is very much aligned to qualification trophy this season, for qualification for the Champions League, that is, and obviously Antonio Conte's future. But let's go on to the last news story of the update. And obviously we had the FA Cup last night, the replay between Sheffield United and Wrexham, where Sheffield United won 3-1. Where it was a really exciting game. Sheffield United were at 1-0 up. Wrexham got one back by a penalty. Then Wrexham could have gone 2-1 up, but they missed the penalty. And then Sheffield United sealed the job in the last 5 to 10 minutes, where they scored 2 goals. And I don't know if you saw Billy Sharp's interview after the game, but very angry Billy Sharp, sticking it to the Wrexham players. And so that's going to be the FA Cup tie for the last 16 on the 1st of March, 7:55 kickoff. The tie has been picked for TV as well on BBC. And it will be at Bramall Lane against Sheffield United. So a nice midweek FA Cup tie draw. Yeah,
and they're flying high in the Championship, so not going to be an easy game whatsoever. Also, memories of Bramall Lane back in 2015 when we had the Carabao Cup semi-final. Yeah. So they're going to want revenge for that. So it should be a good tie.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then obviously the winner gets a place in the quarter-finals. And with our recent performance against Man City, do you think that we should fear no one now in this competition, surely?
Damn right. Damn right. I think we always have this inferiority complex when it comes to playing bigger teams, because I think that we've just seen us lose to so many in cup competitions over the years, especially over the last 14 years in the FA Cup. I can't remember the last time we beat a good side in the FA Cup specifically. Like, it's been a long time.
Long
Like
time.
Carabao, we've had a few big wins. We've beaten Chelsea a few times and things like that. But FA Cup, we literally
I
don't.
don't remember ever beating anyone good in
Like,
the FA
I
Cup.
can't remember beating a good team in the FA Cup like in my lifetime. So
Every time we're coming up against Chelsea, we've lost. Man United, we've lost. Arsenal, we've lost. Liverpool, we've lost. I mean, maybe we beat Liverpool once in the FA Cup, but I can't
in
remember.
'95 we did. Yeah, I don't remember beating Liverpool in the FA Cup recently.
The
So
one
I
I'm
think
thinking about, I think, might be the Carabao when Pavlyuchenko scored.
Carabao.
Yeah, that was League
yeah,
Cup, wasn't it?
Carabao. So we have really bad memories. So we need to break that hoodoo. But we've shown, at least against Man City under Conte, we can. I think in every game we can go toe to toe with them. Even in the game we lost, we were 2-0 up. So we shouldn't fear anyone in this competition. But we also, got to make sure, like, last team went out to Middlesbrough, so we got to make sure we just get the job done in this tie. And then when the big teams come, we'll think about it then.
Yeah, the teams that we've gone out to in the last 4 years of this competition is nothing short of a disgrace, to be honest. But with the way the landscape is of the FA Cup this season, you've got to fancy our chances if you're a Spurs fan, with only top sides only left in it are Man United, Man City and Brighton. That's it, isn't it? So
Bring it on.
you've got to bring it on. So the FA Cup, let's go to Wembley this year, let's win a trophy. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of the news stories we've brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you